The Living Zen-podcast is a gift from the members and associates of the Victoria Zen Centre to you. If you enjoy it, please be sure to let your friends know about Living Zen. If you'd like to support our community, here are a few ways that you can do it. Download the Living Zen podcast app for iPod, iPhone, or Android. You can also purchase additional Zen Talks by Venerable Eshu on iTunes or Amazon.com. One of the most meaningful ways to show your support is by joining our Sangha as an associate. Your commitment of $10 a month will ensure that offerings like the Living Zen podcast and our online e-Zendo will continue to be available around the world to everyone with an interest in truly living Zen. To become an associate, please visit our website at www.zenwest.ca and click on the membership tab. Thank you for your support. So, more and more as we practice together, more and more as we develop together as a community, it becomes clearer and clearer what the function of doing this kind of a practice in community is. This morning we had a couple of brief ceremonies that we do from time to time whenever there's a person who's in the position. And so today we had Shokenko and we had a Zendo entering ceremony. These are two separate ceremonies, even though we have the same person doing them. And as always, I like to say a few words about them. So if you've heard me talk about them before, just please be patient. So traditionally in Zen practice, it's a little bit different than many Christian practices or many practices that we become familiar with in our culture. This endeavor of waking up, of realizing our true nature, is one that is very difficult. I say over and over again, even on Tuesdays, that when I talk about things like sitting with all things as they are, sitting in this very moment which has as its content all things, I'm always reminding people that the content of this moment, these all things, includes all of the things that we like, all of those sort of positive aspects, all of those nice, fluffy, kind of spiritual, blissful kind of experiences that we have in life, and all of the negative, all of those dark, fearful, shameful moments as well. So when I'm talking about sitting with all things in this very moment, it means all things, both the like and the dislike, love and hate. So, from the beginning of practice, there is this acknowledgement that to awaken, to really begin to clarify this mind, to be able to transform our lives is not a simple matter. It's not a pill that we can take, and it's not an enlightenment intensive course that we can take in a weekend. This is a grinding practice in which we must face the darkest shadows, the most embarrassing moments, the things that we hide not only from everybody outside, but also the things that we hide from ourselves. And so this is a frightening endeavor. But it is the position of Zen practice that there is no way around this. Dogen Zenji says to study Zen is to study the self. Not study as in intellectual investigation, but to become intimately knowledgeable, intimately experienced in what it is to manifest as this person in this very moment. To investigate all of the things that we grasp onto, all of the things that we point to and say, that's who I am, that's what I am. So in the beginning, unlike many organizations, companies, systems that we have in our culture, there is this sort of knowledge of this awareness of this right from the beginning in Zen practice. And it's been manifested in our organization by creating this separation between people who are investigating this practice, just checking it out, seeing what it's like, seeing if it's something that resonates with them, seeing if they connect with it. And those who have stepped beyond that, who have actually engaged in some form of training. And the way that we do training here in the Victoria Zen Centre, the first part of training is through this orientation course. We have the situation where we have two zendos. We have a group down in Victoria at the University of Victoria. And the spirit there, the mood there is very different. It's very open. It's very gentle. It's very welcoming. And the idea is to have this be a gateway, an opportunity for people to investigate this practice. Investigate what it is to sit quietly, to pay attention to our breath, to settle into this very moment unfolding before us, this activity of life. To experience what that is. And then we have this other opportunity where we can, once we engage in this initial training, this orientation, we have an opportunity to practice with a group of people who are much more well established in practice. All of them have done this initial training, and most of them have done significantly more. Many of the people in this Sangha have taken the time and made the effort for days and days to just sit in the middle of the muck, in the middle of the chaos, in the middle of the darkness and light of who we are in each and every moment. And so when we engage in this simple ceremony, a Zendo entering ceremony, there's no big hubbub about it. But there is this quiet acknowledgement as a person enters the Zendo. They're led around the Zendo 3 times, and each member just simply bows, acknowledging, recognizing that this individual has gone through this initial training. This individual has taken the step beyond just checking it out and has stepped into a formal practice environment. In some ways, it's like the whole ritual is to say, you've earned a seat in this Zendo. You've earned a seat in this community. You have a place here in this body of practice, in this Sangha. Over and over again, as I look at practice in the West, I see that what I'm hoping to create here in Victoria, and indeed what is being created here in Victoria, is something which is truly a gift. It's not found everywhere. What I'm hoping is that we can make this transformation between practice being this thing that we do, that our sitting, this formal practice that we engage in, isn't just something that the only thing that we do together. This is our formal practice, and then off we go to the rest of our lives. And maybe it's true that we engage in practice in the rest of our lives, but somehow, if this is all there is, if it's just this, come to the Zen Center and sit, go off to your own life and do the best that you can, there is something that's profoundly missing. Something that I feel like this community, these members, have been connecting with, starting to truly experience. And that is living in true community, living lives of practice in relationship with one another, relying on one another, beginning to trust one another, not just in the practice environment, but in life. The function of practice is to allow us to develop insight, awareness, allow us to be able to see clearly how it is that we're making relationship with the world around us, with the objects, people, and beings that we make contact with. Always, we're between these two motivations, between this motivation of our small self, trying to take care of the organism which we perceive as being separate from this cosmos all around us. And this other way, this other practice of acknowledging unconditionally the complete unity of all things in this vast cosmos. And I want to make clear that it's not that we must always fall over to one side, that the situation requires us always to manifest one side. No, Zen practice doesn't work this way. It clarifies, it helps us to clarify that in this moment I need to speak. In this moment I need to dissolve, to experience unification with all things. This moment I need to arise. This moment I need to die. Now, this practice is difficult to accomplish. It's particularly strenuous if we're trying to accomplish it in isolation. And if we engage in practice with a community, with a practice community, sometimes it's easy to go to the Zen Center, to go to the temple, and to manifest perfectly while we're there. To be able to just do it because there's this environment, there's this support, there's this structure there in the practice environment that helps keep us straight, walking straight while we're there. The challenge is what happens when we walk out of the environment, when we're supported at all times by another kind of influence, by our desires being nourished, and our efforts to manifest more wholeheartedly, to manifest as a bodhisattva laughed at, ridiculed, made fun of, belittled. As we go forward as a community together, the depth and value of this treasure, for indeed it is considered the third treasure of practice, the third treasure of the Dharma, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, is to recognize the true value of friendship. Good friend along the way. This is one of the phrases that Linji and Huineng often use. Virtuous companions. Over and over again, I point out that for the earliest monks, the community of the Buddha, they gave up everything. They gave up their position in life. They gave up their wealth. They gave up their hair. They gave up all of their clothing. And they committed themselves to living a life of simplicity in a community. What was the reward? The foundation of Buddhist community, of Sangha, is this virtue, is this trust, is this support, is this unconditioned love. This recognition that we can't do this awakening thing. We can't do this liberation thing in isolation. And that when we commit to one another, when we willingly give ourselves to one another in support of this practice of awakening, something happens. When we become open with those people that we're engaged in practice with, when we know that we might be able to deceive ourselves, but we can't deceive the people that we practice with. And that makes us happy. Sometimes it's not such a good thing. We think, oh God, I can't get anything past these people. But when we look at how that impacts our practice, how it impacts how we go forward in our lives and make relationship, it's not a feeling of fear or resentment. It's a feeling of expanding joy. To know that in this world of suffering, in this world where I have moment to moment every opportunity to cause difficulty, anguish, and pain for myself and for people around me, I have virtuous companions who will give me a nudge in the right direction, who will support me in doing the right thing in each moment. Of course, I'm not for a single second suggesting that people dive into community and just roll over and start, just trusting blindly. This is blind faith. No, this is something that develops over time and through practice and through experience and through incremental bits. Faith that is produced through evidence. Faith which is based on faithfulness. Trust that arises out of a community that is trustworthy. The reason that I think that these little ceremonies, shokenko, which is this meeting of a teacher and student to meet the true mind, recognizing that we are mutually responsible for one another in practice, that we take care of one another, and that we must commit to this over and over again as we practice. To do this ceremony of recognizing that bringing somebody into this community, having somebody who wants to come into this community, is no small thing. We can't just let it pass. We can't just let people come, and we can't just let them go either. Sometimes practice is frightening and scary. Sometimes it's uncomfortable and it's embarrassing. Sometimes things come up which are just horrific to look at. And our response, rather than saying, oh, that makes me profoundly uncomfortable and I'd prefer not to look at it, is rather sometimes to alienate ourselves or to get away from the situation that's causing this stuff to come up. And our role as a community is to support that person. Sometimes there's a drive. They want to villainize. We want to villainize. It's the fault of that community. It's the fault of that practice that this stuff is coming up. It's great when we can recognize that this is the situation and not press back. There's no need to defend, to justify. The most important thing in this situation is to be open, is to be compassionate. Sometimes a person needs to step away, but to allow them to know that they are welcome, that when they come to this community that they'll be supported. to let them know that this is a community of trust. And if that's what a person wants, they can find it here. Okay, I feel like I'm kind of going on and on. In the end, I guess what I want to express today is a very sincere gratitude. Because I can't say that it's been me that has built this Sangha. And in fact, if there's a lesson that I've learned about Sangha, it's that a person cannot build it. A Sangha is a community of individuals who have come together, who have made that commitment to one another. So, thank you for your commitment to Sangha, and please don't let up, don't slide back. I've never experienced a community like the one that's developed and is developing here. And I don't know where it goes. I don't know how deep it gets. But I'm delighted at the prospect of finding out. So thank you. Thanks for listening to the Living Zen podcast. If you follow Living Zen through iTunes, I would very much appreciate it if you would take a moment to let me know what you think about it by rating or reviewing the podcast, so that new listeners can also hear what you have to say. Thank you for your time and for your support.